Hi, folks. Give us a sound check and a video check. Can you see and hear? Go ahead and say howdy.
Howdy, howdy.
Honey Bunny says, looks like how I work.
Well, you need to improve that then, honey bunny.
I just got a notification.
Mina konnichiwa. I don't know what the mina means. I know konnichiwa is basically Japanese for hello or something, right? Sound is decent, says honey bunny. Can you hear Eva?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Oh.
I would, but it might not grow.
Anyhow. Mina is everybody. Okay. So, as you can see, this weekend did not go according to plan.
Yeah, he's got a black eye even. I don't know how well it shows on the camera, but he's got a black eye even.
He says it's a black eye. I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
Anyhow.
Trying to kill himself.
I was not trying to kill myself. The thing I'm very happy about is we both had decided that it was best to try that curve on my own first.
Hi, John.
And Eva was not on the quad. Had she been on the quad, I'm sure she would have been significantly injured. She does not bounce as well as I do.
Yeah,
Plus,
I've got osteoporosis.
Not only that, but your legs would have been in a more vulnerable position. You would have been on the fenders, whereas mine were between the fenders, you know?
Yeah, I would have had a broken leg and you would have had to shoot.
Nah. So, anyhow, might as well get that out of the way first. There's a road up to an old mine, and it makes this 45-degree switchback. And
that's a steep one.
Yeah, it's all pretty darn steep. Although this is steeper than this. But this was all washed out. And so Friday, I had kind of rearranged everything here. I had a fairly flat path all the way down to there. And when we came back down, the front tires, because it's so steep, trying to make this turn, they slid a little bit. It was sketchy close to the edge there. So we when we came back the next day, I went and put a bank on there, pretty significant bank. Then worked the rest of the day. And we were coming back down. I got to about here and I hit the rear brakes and the rear axle started sliding. And so I touched the front brakes.
Hi, Chris. Chris George here.
Hey, Chris. I got a specific question for you in a little bit, too. But anyhow, I don't know exactly what happened. It happened so fast. I think what happened is it kind of quad slid sideways, then hooked this inside of the turn where there was a bump, and then it dropped off on the far side of that. And I think that's what got the quad rolling that direction. Wound up here on its passenger side wheels. So, I don't know, does a quad have a passenger side? The right side wheels, vertical. And the little nicks and dings came from just hitting the ground. As you can see, it's not like they were really significant.
Anybody said Tokyo Drift.
They're not so much in the way of serious injuries, but it looked really dramatic because once we got everything kind of half sorted and we got the quad scooted away from the edge enough with a digging bar so that it could be flipped down on its wheels, I took a look at the situation and thought, I've seen this video before. As soon as you flip it onto its wheels, gravity will take over. and it's going to just head down somewhere till something really undesirable happens. There was no way that I could see to safely flip it over and hold on to the handbrakes or anything like that. So we hiked all the way back to camp. And so from the time I perforated my epidermis, the time we got to camp was probably in the neighborhood of 45 minutes. And it had just been bleeding all that time because they were just minor little dings. So there's no sense worrying too much. If you let them bleed a little bit, it cleans out the bacteria and stuff too. So anyhow, when we got back to camp, I told Eva, take some pictures before you clean me up. And that's where the pictures came from, or the picture. There's a couple others more close ins. But anyhow, so we then cleaned me up, put a few bandages on, and decided that, I had been working.
Hi, Shane.
Pretty much 7 to 8 hours building road with a pick and shovel, basically, that day. And it was hot. I drunk about 1.5 gallons of water already. And I was none too excessively hydrated, I can tell you that. So we decided, tell you what, let's go ahead and just pack everything up, take the trailer down the road to where this side road here comes up, and then we'll grab the climbing rope and a Jumar and some carabiners, go up the hill, belay off the quad, flip it over, and bring it down and load everything up, call it a day. Now, Eva was especially concerned because I took a hit right here, and it was swole up a little bit. It had a little bit of a goose egg. Not much, but a little bit. Hadn't lost consciousness, anything like that. My pupils were equal and reactive and stuff like that. So we were double checking to make sure. That's actually in Idaho. That's more near Prospector Trip and like that. It's not that. It's closer to Boise than it is to Helena, John. So, anyhow, since I'm taking Plavix, her concern was a brain bleed, of course, which is not unreasonable, although it did not seem likely, which is why we didn't just hop in the truck and bug out. Okay? And just leave everything there for later recovery. But we walked up the hill, belayed it, flipped it over on its wheels. Didn't seem to be damaged in any way. Reloaded everything in it. Then I pulled sideways on the belay rope while Eva released the handbrake and then reapplied it. And when I released the tension on the belay rope, it held itself just fine. Hi, Resort Dog. Resort Dog. So anyhow, I checked the oil and it was not on the stick. Now, I couldn't tell if that was because the quad was on such a steep slope or not, but it was pointed downhill and I'm pretty sure gravity would work. No, I don't think it really got much of a scratch. And so then I just coasted it downhill where it got onto a fairly flat section, and then checked the oil again. The oil was well within the range, and fired it up and got it down on the by where we parked the trailer and stuff, loaded everything up. We came home. And he was actually hurting worse than me because she'd been trying so hard to help me move that quad that she kind of overstressed herself. But that's basically it. no real issues as far as I can tell. I haven't taken the quad back to get it checked out yet. Um, but I don't think there's any problems with it at all. Okay. So, it just,
Redor Dog said, overextended and got my paw thumped.
well, that's not good. That's not good at all, Resort Dog.
Yeah. Chris is talking about some stuff in somebody else's video.
Okay. Anyhow, so that's what happened on my weekend. And presumably next weekend we'll go back and. Do we have any idea what the weather's like going to be next weekend?
Not yet. Hold on.
Yeah.
I will tell you all I can tell you.
It was pretty warm out there this weekend.
Storms possible Tuesday afternoon, by the way. We're expecting 87 tomorrow, 78 Wednesday, 77 Thursday, 76 Friday, Saturday.
Not horrible.
56.
No. And so, as I say, go back here, I'll flatten that bank out a bit and probably put a belay rope on the quad and just, I should, to be controllable, you should be able to just ease it down on the brakes and not have a problem. So if it doesn't, then we'll have a belay on there to make it easier to deal with. I'll rearrange the form. Oh, I've been doing a lot of earth moving this weekend. Now, another question that I have for the everybody, and Chris, this was the one I was specifically talking about you. Our guys down in Nicaragua have got pretty good gold lines now, and they're smelting gold, but they're having problems with the flux not being thin enough. They're getting a lot of shot in the flux, and so the question is, Chris, or anyone else who happens to know, if you had a gold concentrate that's got a pretty good amount of gold in it, like, I don't know what the percentage is, in the double digits of percentage, and we've already roasted it to get rid of any residual sulfides, what is the flux recipe you would use, and what is the temperature you would use? They have an infrared thermometer so they can check the temperature, but the flux that they're using based on this formula that Eva gave, and it's just not pouring as thin as it should,
Oh, you can add more soda ash.
Correct, Chris. Sulfides roasted first before fluxing and smelting. Exactly. So, that's my basic question. I checked something out on the internet, and it had some manganese dioxide in there and some fluorite. Not handy, but I'm sure they can get it, Chris. That's what I was thinking. Maybe some fluorite might come in handy. And so there was a formula I got off the internet. It was from supposedly an actual big gold mine. The formulas they use to smelt down their concentrates and stuff. So that's what I was wondering. How badly does fluoride eat away a carbon crucible, Chris? I know that's the negative to fluoride is it's pretty active stuff.
Yeah, Honey Bunny agreed with what I just said. Add crushed glass to reduce melt, or more soda.
Okay.
Yeah, adding more soda ash will easily make it more fluid.
Okay.
But the thing, it's getting the correct temperature.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I, thanks, Honey and Chris. We'll work on that. Soda ash is pretty safe. The fluorite's a little more aggressive. And so we shall see. I'm going to try and have Eva queue up a video that they sent us. Now, what they were doing, let me wipe this off here. In terms of the process, what they originally had, that we changed it up quite a bit here. First, after primary crushing and everything, they had a ball mill. Okay. Ball mill emptied into a spiral classifier. Which is also known as a sand. And then this was recirculated here. Now, say these guys were not experienced at all, so they didn't realize that a sand screw is the exact same physics as a separation table.
Hi, Shane. No, they're not using bismuth. They're looking at smelting their smeltable concentrates into doré without using a collector metal. And even if they were using a collector metal, it would be lead. Bismuth is horrible for grabbing silver.
Well, it's not only that, but then you still got to get rid of the bismuth. You know, you're adding one thing to get it. It's just a never-ending chain of add this to get rid of that, and then add something else to get rid of the thing you just put in, and like that. If you can just smelt it down, it'll work a lot simpler. Anyhow, so this was obviously grabbing all of their decent-sized gold and recycling it back into the ball mill for further pulverization. What they did was they put a cage out here of rebar.
Anybody says zinc strips silver out of bismuth lead.
And then they put a screen so that we had a 100 mesh screen that was actually physically screened coming out of the ball mill, and only the oversize, the actual physical oversize, was recirculated.
I have a nice big block of bismuth. I love looking at it. I will never, ever use collector metal. I am looking at turning some of it into pretty crystal things, though. You know, like those pretty bismuth towers.
Anyhow, so now they wound up with a slurry with 100 mesh minus physically screened that went to the tables, and they got a lot better separation. You can see much cleaner separation between sulfides, the gold, and the blondes. Then what they're doing now is they're taking those number one shoot hoppers, I guess number one hoppers, concentrates, and then retabling it. Okay, they'll take all those cons, retable them again, and that really cleans up the sulfides, and it really gets the gold out in a good gold line. And if Eva calls it up here, we'll see if we can't. They sent a video on the phone, and we'll see if we can play it so that you can see it. It's far from ideal. So that's him sucking up the gold line. That's a pretty good sized gold line, isn't it? That's from retabling the concentrates. And that is what he's sucking up. That's what we're looking to flux and smelt down into doré gold. Okay?
Yeah, very pretty stuff.
So the retabling, this screen here, the gentlemen report that the gold that they're getting on the tables is coarser than it used to be. Makes perfect sense. So these two changes have dramatically improved the situation.
Bismuth for collector is like dealcoholized beer or fat-free. Yeah, pretty much.
But anyhow, so they're doing much better right now. The sulfide cons where they have,
Oh, wow.
sucked the gold line off of, those are being stockpiled for later processing. We're going to be roasting those, and then we'll decide what to do with those when the appropriate time comes. The plan right now is to just stockpile them because they're getting plenty of free gold right now to pay the bills, is what it looks like. And therefore, the time pressure is kind of off. As far as we can tell, they're doing some production runs over the last couple of days, which I haven't got a direct report on. But they're doing a good job now getting enough gold to pay the bills. Then the sulfides are going to be roasted and processed. There may be another gravity separation first, or it may just go straight to a leaching system. Hard to tell. And so we're going to play those games sequentially. I mean,
Hi, Rock Butcher.
hey, Rock, you got the gold, sulfides, and tailing. Now, we have a good idea what these sulfides run after you've recovered the gold from them. And it's in the neighborhood right now of 50 ounces to the ton. Okay. So they got plenty of gold in them, but you're only getting like 10 pounds a day. So that's what, 1/20th or 200? 1/200th of a ton. So 1/200th of 50 is quarter ounce a day. Not terribly critical. Tailings, there's a lot of weight there, but we don't know for sure what the concentration is, but there's indications they could be running up to 1/2 ounce to the ton. The head grade, we don't know for sure yet. They still got a lot of sampling and what do you call it? And assaying to do to get a good handle on that. Right now, the only 2 assays we have on the head grade is substantially higher grade than what the experienced miners are getting with their little cow horn panning technique. They're saying, this looks like 15 grams. And we're getting a lot more than that on the assays.
Chris says it's pretty low grade sulfide.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get it upgraded pretty good. We shall see. It's painfully slow getting this thing dialed in terms of proper process control. Getting a process where we're not changing it every single day, and then getting the samples, and then getting the assays to get a statistical analysis worthwhile. So we really don't know at this point exactly what's going on. We don't know what the ore is. We don't know how much gold for sure. We don't know how much is in the sulfides. We don't know how much is in the tails. The good news is the uncertainty seems to be on the upside. So it looks like the better we do in terms of getting things working efficiently, the more gold they're going to get.
Make it up as we go along.
Yeah. So it looks favorable at this point, quite favorable actually. We're still refining it, but this thing that they were running into the problem here was when they took these gold concentrates, the gold line concentrates, roasted them, and then fluxed it with this recipe at the temperatures we were running, it wasn't thin enough. They also didn't have a carbon stirring rod, which now they do. They can stir it up to coalesce the beads. But
well, if they're not using a collector metal, they have to get it hotter than I.
Yeah, and so we're working on getting this melting down to where it's really liquid flux due to temperature and everything. But anyhow, so that's the problem they're having at the moment. Another thing is these gold line cons still have a fair amount of sulfides in them, and it would be preferable to get a cleaner gold concentrate. So theoretically, Brandon is going to meet Prospector Trip. That new pan that Prospector Trip came out, that rectangular pan, looks like it might work real well to scalp clean gold out of those gold line concentrates.
Sorry, I was away for a bit.
So hopefully, the idea is to take this into a pan, manual panning operation, come out with a gold supercon, which we would like to be over 50% gold. And then this can go right back into the sulfides when we're retabling again, theoretically to scalp some of the gold out, but anything we lose we'll get from sulfides later. Again, what we do with those sulfides, we got to test, but going to roast them, that's for sure. Then we need to grind them, that's for sure. At that point, we may or may not do another gravity separation. It could be something as simple as just running it over some sawtooth mat or something like that. And say, at that point, plan is some kind of leaching situation. So that's the plan with the salt. The tailings, again, we got to find out what's actually in the tailings. We've had some numbers coming off of those tailings that are pretty darn good. We have some indication for the tailings that are like, no, they're relatively clean. Don't know. Again, all this stuff, there's so much process control sampling and assaying that needs to be accomplished yet to really get a good handle on things. It's not funny, but they're working on it. They're getting stuff to assay labs. By the way, ALS finally got back with samples we gave them like 3-4 weeks ago. I have to take away my recommendation from ALS as highly useful. They can do the job, but it's been a pain in the butt. Okay, so not terribly convenient. I like doing bottle rolls and sending solutions to our local lab. I like Lawrence Hiddle, Colorado. There gets pretty quick service. And the few times I've used Chris Christopherson in Smelterville, Idaho, anyhow, it's near Coeur d'Alene. He's been reasonably good too. So it's just painfully slow. We were up there today, last weekend, building a road to mines where we hadn't got the assays back from the samples yet. We're just kind of going by what we know about this area. Yeah, I understand, Rock. Yeah, that's not much fun. That turnaround time is insane. That's one reason we like um Hittle, because he's usually within 7 days. You know, from the time he gets into the time we get an answer, it's less than 7 days. So that's always um, very desirable to get quick return time. According to the gentleman in Central America, they should get a turnaround time of roughly 3 to 4 days, Rock. Um, and that'll be very helpful, but they just got the first set of samples out to them. So I'm not sure when that's going to show up, but basically they can take the samples, put it on the bus in the local town. It goes to the lab. Within about 24 hours, it's the lab, and in 3 to 4 days, the lab has uploaded the results to the internet. Um, ACT Labs was pretty comparable, Chris. It used to be Skyline Labs in Tucson, but they got bought up by ACT Labs. Uh, what's kicking chicken? Me, still here. But anyhow, that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. David's 113. That's a lot of numbers there, David's. Uh, so that's kind of the report from up here and from Central America. Things are progressing well in Central America. Things have been a little bumpy here. We shall see what goes on. Assuming we get the mine there producing well and stuff going well, the plan is to divert a little bit of the income stream to start doing more research on the equipment processes I've been working on in my head and sometimes with my hands over the last couple decades. Get the next bigger version of the impact mill built. And Cripple Creek, huh? Are they still going good? Um, get the new impact mill built and tested. And then we're also going to be working on the chemistry to process those roasted sulfide cons here. Looking at some data, and let me know what you think about this, Chris. The data I got from certain studies was that the sodium thiosulfate leaching was quite rapid and very, very thorough. I mean, like 100% recovery in a 2-hour agitation leach, you know? And hi, Mr. Virtue. So it's also non-toxic. It's, well, low toxicity. Nothing's non-toxic. Salts will kill you. But low toxicity, it doesn't have any cyanide in it, unlike the Eco Goldex, which does have cyanide. John says, Eva, my customer ran out of rounds. He's now doing constitutional. Okay. John Kodak said, Eva, my customer ran out of rounds. Now doing constitutional.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's crazy. We still have to go see what's going on at our local coin shop. I'm hoping to get over there the next time we get paid.
Well, if I knew exactly what the eutectic ratio was, I would probably be better off, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that calculation.
Exactly. That one that I put up there, that one he's got up there, has been working beautifully for me with everything, but it should bear in mind that
Hi,
I
Mr.
do
Virtue.
not work with metals. I don't just use smeltable cons. I use a collector metal always
Yeah,
because I want a purer, cleaner product.
yeah.
I'm willing to do the extra step.
So anyhow,
There's
that was and so say with the thiosulfate leach, it's chemically a little more complicated because you got to use the copper or something or other, I forget which complex as a catalyst. You got to have an oxidizer, you got to have the copper complex, then you got to have the thiosulfate. It's a little more expensive and complex, but it seems to work real well. So it might be really well suited for processing concentrates. When you got something running 50 ounces to the ton, you can afford a little bit of reagent consumption and things like
Hello,
that.
David.
So
Yeah, adding too much can start increasing salt.
yeah, say it's just what is that ratio is the question. But that has been working good for Eva in the past, and
Yeah, I mean,
is there any problem just cranking up the temperature to a little over 2,000 degrees? Is that going to hurt anything? Is the question?
hello, David.
Yeah.
Have any gold in your house you could show us? I've never seen a gold nugget.
Not really.
We actually don't do. We almost never. Hi. We almost never even see gold nuggets. We do hard rock, and hard rock gold is tiny, really tiny, like smaller than grains of salt. If you find something that's a grain of salt size, it's ridiculously coarse. That right there,
It gives you an idea how tiny it is.
yeah, and that's actually big compared to a lot of the stuff we've worked with.
So, and I say that's considered on the coarse side of hard rock gold.
Yeah.
So that's what we specialize in, and it adds a certain level of complexity.
Rock Butcher says, huge suffer of Dad's famous fried chicken. Want to lean back into lazy boy with the earbuds on. If you need me, just yell.
Okay, we will.
Purple quartz with gold veining in it would be beautiful, Dave.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's good cabochon stuff.
Yeah, we do hard rock around here, Howdy. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah. Some guy up here supposedly was getting rose quartz with visible gold in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Basically, Chris is saying you're going to have to go by guess and by gosh sort of thing. Yeah. So, any problem going like 2,000 with the temperature, Chris? That's higher than Eva likes to run in general. But that's one way to maybe get it thinner. Oh, again, we're working one step at a time, getting things going on down there. We've got the gravity separation working a lot better. He said the sulfide concentrates, the stuff I had, the samples they brought down the first time were running at least 95% silica. He says now they're down to less than 5% silica. And that's a huge improvement, especially when you figure that you're going to have to do some secondary processing. And so roasting 100 pounds of sulfide cons versus 5 pounds of sulfide cons makes it a whole bunch easier. Yep. Always check your tailings. Check everything.
Yeah, I would think the same, Chris. I really don't like to. What
would you say to maximize? 1950, 1900? What would be your maximum temperature that you would test?
Nodules are usually in the soils. Outcrop. Wow.
Because yeah, they add some fluorspar, maybe add more soda ash. The other thing, it's like, well, take your flux that you've already got, put it back in the crucible now that you've got, you've crushed it and got the gold out of it, and heat it up again while adding a little bit of this or that or the other. By just playing with a crucible of pure flux, you can check stuff and not worry too much about it. Shane likes 1940. Okay. Yeah, it sounds good, honey bunny. But anyhow, so that's what we're working on this stage. Once we get that, the final concentration of the gold line cons and the smelting down, then we're going to move on to the sulfides and see what we can do with those. And I'm really interested in doing the thiosulfate to see how that works. A good feeling of
1945 to 1960.
Okay, so he's again like no more than about 1940. Okay, probably around 1900 would be a good thing to avoid. An excursion above it, so to speak. Yeah. Oh well, I could check vapor pressure charts, Chris, but it wouldn't do me a bit of good. Wouldn't know what I was looking at. Yep. I'm not that knowledgeable, darn it. I can see now what I should have learned when I was in my 20s, but it's a little late now. I'm a little too old to go back to college. Yep. So, anyhow, that's what we're doing there. And I'm waiting on assays. These guys are waiting on assays. And we've got a lot of stuff to do. And try to keep the wheels on the ground. Stuff has exhaust gas. Oh, okay. So if you overheat it, it's going to change the eutectic ratios. Okay, got that.
Yeah.
Flux flows beautiful at 1860. What is that flux recipe, Shane? If you could tell me that.
No, he says he's got one ore that it flows beautiful at 8. It's going to be ore dependent.
I know, but any flux recipe is better than no flux recipe. Okay. Seems like 1940. Yeah, it's weird how these things are just so individualized. That's one of the big problems that people don't realize is everything's just so individualized. Well, the other thing that is used to fluidize stuff too is fluorite, honey bunny. The problem with fluorite is that it tends to eat up your crucibles too. I mean, that fluorine is pretty darn reactive stuff. So that's a negative thing. On the other hand, if it works and you don't lose gold to shotting in the flux, the slag, that'd be well worth it.
Yeah.
Uh, well, okay. What is the old basic flux, Shane? What are the ratios? I guess it's probably silica, soda ash, and borax.
Chapman's. He uses Chapman flux.
Oh, use Chapman's, huh? Okay.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I have never had all that great of luck with Chapman. It may just be because of the type of work.
Oh, entirely. It's
And boy, it really attacked the crucible.
ate it up. Okay. Yep.
And since I have to be very careful with my crucible.
Well, we'll just have to get you a much nicer lab sometime. I'm quite hopeful that we'll
I
be able to get a lot of
to,
stuff done.
Just because I have something better doesn't mean I'm going to stop taking care of my crucible. It has to take care of their shit.
Not if it costs you a lot of money to take care of it. The reason you take care of it so it doesn't cost you. If it costs you $100 to save a $2 crucible, it's not worth it. The important thing is to get the gold.
I'm never in a position that happens.
You haven't been yet. Yeah. I say this is the sort
And
of
as I said, I'm not in the habit of doing that collector metal. I've got what's left of silver piece flat. That's cool with dog.
Yep. Probably gonna be a while for that, Kodak, but they will. It's gonna be outside with a breeze, sort of ventilation hood, and also for small batches. I mean, if they're only getting a couple ounces a day, you could probably use a purification dish for that. Just use a standard flux and a torch. You know. A little lime to get rid of the stray flux. Well, one of those fluxes I saw today had some lime in it. So that's why, huh? Oh. Anyhow, we have been pretty busy. Oh, and then to add a little more complexity to life, first of all, tomorrow evening my daughter is going to be going through Butte about 7 o'clock, so we're going to meet her there for dinner. And the reception for Eva's son, who got married last year, is going to be held here next month. And some complications popped up on that, so we're going to have to be doing some on-the-ground assistance here to help get that all coordinated. So that's going to add a little bit of things happening, but no big deal. But it keeps me busy. One thing about being busy is you don't have time to get nervous or twiddle your thumbs or get bored or anything like that. I generally sleep pretty good when I work hard. I worked my ass off Saturday. So, well, why was your arms and hands bloody? Because I flipped a quad onto its side, Mr. Virtue. That was the early part of the episode. If you want to go back later and look at it, there was a old mining road that we went up, and it has a hairpin turn in it that had washed out, and I rearranged it, and the physics didn't behave exactly as I anticipated. Very steep grade and everything, and so I wound up on the road with the quad next to me, sitting on its two right side wheels. And I mean, they were just little dings, no big deal. But I'm taking Plavix. You can see how easy I bruise now. And So I was leaking, and it took us 45 minutes to get back to camp. So before cleaning everything up and bandaging stuff, I made sure Eva got a uh, good picture of it because I wanted to record it for posterity. Yeah, rocks are hard. This one right here, I'm pretty sure it was a rectangular rock about this big, is sitting almost flush with the road surface. I'm pretty sure that was the one that got me here. But yeah, I'm just very, very thankful that Eva wasn't riding on the back at that point, because that would have been catastrophic. She would have been hurt. Not a little bit either, I don't think. So yeah, I am pretty well muscle up. I'm also reasonably good at falling down. I'm not sure why, but I don't know. Some of you probably remember it. There was a video I made a couple years ago where I was videoing take something, and my feet went out from under me, hit the ground, and didn't even stop videoing. you know. Uh, so yeah, I'm pretty good at landing where I don't injure myself. Okay, so as I say, we'll see what the heck I do next time. When you learn to fall up, yeah, I'll let you know, Chris. Um, that would make it a little wider than it is, which was I built like 100 feet of side hill road on some steep side hill, so it's not a whole lot extra wide. It's less than a foot wider than the footprint of the quad. uh, so yeah, I don't think it'd have room for training wheels, but let's say that's what happened, Mr. Virtue. And the quad is, as far as I can tell, uninjured. I will say one thing. The basket that we have on the front rack to hold the buckets, I think did an excellent job. When it flipped onto its side, it did not try and continue the roll. It just stopped. And I attribute that to that basket up there, because it was like a brace. It sticks out as wide as anything on the quad. And I mean, when it hit that, it just stopped. So I will attribute it that. I'm not sure exactly what I need to do, but I'm planning on making kind of a recessed road between two berms around that corner, so it kind of guides the front tires, especially if I can just put the front tires where I need them and they won't slide on me, I can do okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that's just one of those things that, what the heck. The first iteration wasn't ideal. The second iteration worked worse. So next week it'll be the third iteration, and we'll give her heck. It looks like the weather will be reasonable. 80 degrees is still kind of warm for doing hard work. Friday was great. Gosh, it was like, I don't know, 65, 70 degrees, overcast, breezy. Great. Saturday, not so much. Anyhow, anyone got any questions or anything? Anybody doing anything? I was the tires were sliding, Mr. Virtue. I was trying to creep down it, but when I hit the brakes, they just slid. It's that steep. That's pretty good, Resort Dog. There's a Roman saying, I forget what it is in Roman or Latin, I guess, but it's um, Pain is fleeting, glory is forever, women dig scars. Unfortunately for me, my scars heal up. I mean, I had open heart surgery about 5 or 6 years ago. You can't even really see it. You have to look carefully. Well, that's great, honey bunny. Yeah, I forget what the thing. Do you remember that one in Latin, little one?
No, I do not.
Yeah, Gonzo used to spout that one. Yep. So, anyhow, um, I just don't scar up too easily. I'll live with it. I actually tend to heal up pretty well. So, um, I'm I'm pretty happy with that. I'll consider that a win. Good work, honey bunny. Um, what are we looking at time wise here? Only an hour? Okay. But anyway, anybody got any questions or any situations they're working on or whatever? There you go. Well, you got a bunch of stories there, Resort Dog. What happened there? Well, there I was. No shit.
No shit, there I was.
Yeah.
All fine.
Exactly. So anyhow, um, that's about it. I'm waiting on some assays too. Decide what to do. I've got a road built up to a low grade dump. It's just below a high grade dump. So 3% graded road. Oh no, 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 no. I'm not sure what that one is, but it's more in the neighborhood of 10% or steeper. It's pretty steep. And the problem is right there at that switchback, that's quite a drop from one level to the next. If it was just steep, flat around, and then steep the other way, it'd be real easy. That may be what I try and do when I go back up there is shave off some of the upper part of the turn and throw it to the lower part of the turn. Your opal pocket pinched out, huh? Well, that sucks, Resort Dog. Uh, well, we'll see, Shiny. One thing we did, we also staked our placer claim out there. That was that's some pretty good hiking too. Um, it was one of those pickup stick forests. It's like I got to go 660 feet horizontally that direction. How long did it take me?
Oh, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours. Yep. And so I got that
The
staked.
Bonanza opal mine will give a share to a bulldozer operator who will work for it. Ooh,
Cool.
love that.
And so we've got some hard rock adits on the load uh, uh, claim right next to that that will need to be opened up. And Rokon, yeah, those are some pretty good vehicles. Yeah, if I'd had a 4-wheel drive, it would have been better. And, you could get equalized braking on all the wheels. But that's something where, since it's our claim, we've got more flexibility on that. So we might actually be doing some of that by next year, where we can actually have people come out and work with us on stuff. Real easy to get to. You drive out there in the minivan. Oh. Yeah, that's what happens when you get the high wall, um, you know, hanging above you there. You just gotta, you know, make a pushback. Uh, but the cut ones really do not fall apart like the undried wet ones. They fall apart. The opals do. Resort
Oh
dog.
yeah.
Hmm. Huh.
Opals are very soft.
Yeah. We'll have to see where everything winds up this year. I still haven't heard anything from Jeff Kablock. It's already June, so we should hear him. Small summary of what's on the board. Okay. This was a flux for smelting. This is the ball mill down there in Central America. We modified it with a screen on the output side so that we get 100 mesh minus physically screened material heading to the separation table. That has improved the separation on the table significantly because you got more consistent particle sizes. And that gives, they're taking a little vacuum and can actually suck up the gold line on when they're reprocessing the concentrates. But first they run it over the tables and they get a sulfide and gold concentrate with very little of the sulfides getting passed into the tailings. Okay. Then they take the sulfide gold concentrate and retable that. They put it on the table. They've got one table set up a little bit differently, and they put it on that table and they just feed it by hand. And as it goes across, they get a lot of gold and sulfides, and they're washing away a lot of silica from those concentrates. So that's what this shows here. Tailings, sulfide concentrates, gold line concentrates. These are actually sucked off the table. Try and get as good a clean a split as possible. Okay. And then from here, the plan is to pan it and create a super gold concentrate that's running like 50% gold or more. It goes to direct smelting. And that's what we were working on today, was talking about various flux recipes and temperatures for smelting. Okay. And once we get this part of the process nailed down well, then we'll start working on the sulfide concentrates and roasting them and processing the gold out of them. All of this thing right now, they're taking samples at the different stages of the process and sending them off to an assay lab. And that is...
Good guy asked how much melt does it take to get the flux.
How much smelt? You mean how much heat?
Yeah, good guy. We're not sure exactly what you're asking there.
If you're talking about how much heat, it looks like everyone's of the agreement that somewhere around 1900 degrees is a good temperature. So
I would love to mine opals today.
I say this is actually starting to shake down pretty good. They're now getting enough gold to where they should be profitable.
Good guy says yes.
Okay. Yeah, I say about 1900 seems to be the opinion. No more than about 1940.
Yeah.
As long as
that is for doing with smeltable concentrates without a collector metal.
Yeah.
I do mine at a lower temperature because I use collector.
So, as long as it's real fluid, it'll pretty much do the job. The main things is silica, soda ash, and borax. Those are the main ingredients. That'll dissolve impurities really well. But we have to get it real thin so that the gold itself can just physically settle to the bottom of the um, crucible. When you pour it out, you get one
Resort
big
Dog
thing of
says
gold.
some people oil them. Yep.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would just love to mine some opal someday. There is there is an opal placer deposit of some sort down in Nevada, wasn't it? That opal mine we saw the video on?
Is that opal or?
Yeah, that was opal. That was the one we looked at after the sapphire one.
Yeah. That was in Nevada. Where are you at, Resort Dog?
Well, he's talking about Australia, so probably could dry them chemically or heat pressure. Did you?
Virgin Valley. Where's the Virgin Valley? Idaho?
Ooh, Virgin Valley. Okay.
So, are you anywhere near the earthquakes, Resort Dog?
My hand is in American. Huh.
Yeah, they've been getting some earthquakes up there. You know where we were at Atlanta, little one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit further north and east of there was where the earthquakes are hitting. You know? But it's kind of an interesting spot to be getting magnitude 4 earthquakes. So the question is, are they precursors, just a little blip or what? Hard to tell. Over there at near Naples, that Campi Flegrei looks pretty interesting too. They're also looking at a seamount off the Oregon coast erupting here shortly, but there shouldn't really be any issues there.
Oh, blueberries are already coming up in a few places.
Really? Is that unusual?
Oh, it's a little early, but it depends on where you are. I'm wondering. I don't. You have to.
Yeah. Well, we're still waiting to hear back from
Yeah.
Forest Service on that. Kind of busy where we're at right now, so that's working fine. And then pretty quickly, theoretically, Jeff Kablock is supposed to show up. And then we'll be looking at that situation over there. All in all, it's been a pretty interesting spring. I'm not sure how that works or if it does or does not, Kodak. I know a lot of people believe there's an association and kind of a causal association, but I simply have no opinion on that. But there's a lot of significant action happening near significant things right now. There's always like 20 volcanoes erupting somewhere, but you don't have. I mean, I guess they had a couple of roads in Otsuli that collapsed and turned into fumaroles. Which is kind of disconcerting in the middle of a city.
What they get for living in the middle of that mess. I've always said no sane person lives on an active volcano.
So, I say there's a lot of interesting things going on. Then they had, was it Mount Etna that scared the bejesus out of a bunch of tourists.
Uh-huh.
You know, So, anyhow, got a lot of interesting stuff going on. Sorry I didn't get much in the way of pictures this week, folks. We're a little bit preoccupied when we left. I didn't even get to go back up on the side of the ridge there and uncover the presumed perpendicular fault. I don't think Yellowstone itself is getting active anytime soon.
Yeah, Yellowstone.
No, I don't think that's a big issue. I'm thinking, in terms of geologic hazards, our biggest one here would be a Cascadia subduction zone issue, which would send a whole lot of refugees our way.
Jeff
And
Bybee says 99% of the time you're safe living on a volcano. However, some days.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hi, Jeff. However, some days. That's the thing. It's like I don't understand these people that live in 100-year floodplain.
So you are slopping cement on your kitchen countertops. Wow. That does sound like a mess.
Yeah, that sounds like a
I
mess.
hope the wife approves, or you're in big trouble.
They took out a total of 5 women. Wonder.
I'm sure they are. Anyhow, that's the thing that concerns me. If you were to have one of the Cascade volcanoes go off, then we might have an ash issue over here.
This down.
Anyhow, opal for all practical purposes is a gel, huh? Wow.
Opal is pretty.
Oh, of course it is. Gorgeous stuff. Well, one could look at it that way, Muzzle Up. But it's also going to mess up the economic situation here because we ship a lot of coal and wheat out of the West Coast towards Asia. I don't know how much stuff we get back from there. I think Eva's monitoring it, John, but she's been making some faces, but we're trying to keep that out of the.
Yeah, I am watching. I am watching very carefully on X. Things are playing out in real time that are rather fascinating, including proposals for an Apocalypse Now 2.0, with the helicopters blasting Fortunate Son.
Fortunate Son.
Yeah. They want the helicopters blasting Fortunate Son, and then they put out the tear gas, and they roll up with the fluorescent dye, indelible fluorescent dye water cans. And yeah.
Okay, Shiny. Near Henderson, huh? Yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of demonstrations on Saturday. We're kind of recommending staying away because they're probably going to be causing problems. And be hard to. Let's see. So, yeah, how big is it, Shiny? Nah, we'll just take some rather large rocks and get them ready to roll down. Looks like Honey Bunny wants an idea on the size. Shiny. I do, Shiny? Oh, let's see. Uh, Making a note to Honey Bunny. Um, I'm pretty sure, I don't recall shiny rocks as being indicated on the email. Is there some other thing that'll let me know it's you, Shiny? So, 14-foot trommel, that's a big one. So, once Eva gets back here, she can maybe look it up. Is it showing? No, it is not, Shiny, because you aren't listed as an administrator. You can't show a link. If you just type it, if you don't mind just typing it, but don't, instead of putting the at symbol in there, just put a comma and a couple spaces and like that, and it should show up. But the actual email, if you put up, okay, so you can do that at Gmail, huh? So it's leader. Eva will be back here in a minute.
What?
I don't know. On my email, see if you can find Shiny Rocks' email.
Okay, hold on, because when I got this thing up, I
Yeah.
can't be looking at the chat, so don't chat anybody.
Well, or they can chat to each other, but we won't be able to see it.
Yeah, don't answer, don't try to chat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's under Shiny Rocks. Try leader something at Gmail. Or you could just send me an email right now, Shiny. You send it to hardrocku at Outlook. Show up. That'll give me then I can forward that to Honey Bunny. Not seeing anything yet. Not that. I'm in the search bar. We can't find it.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Okay.
Sure.
Then go back
I'm
to
working on something else. Still working. Nope.
Okay, so go back to the chat so we can see what's going on. That's what I just told him to do. I can't tell if he did if I'm not seeing the chat. Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Hiya, Shaggy.
Shiny, send me an email at hardrocku@outlook.com, and then I'll forward that to Honey Bunny.
Yeah.
That'll make it quick.
Shiny said made a video on a couple.
You're in Northern California?
Says he sent us an
Okay,
email,
so go check the emails now. Okay, just forward that to Honey. He's working on it. Yeah, so you the one up near
the
Mount
Black
Shasta?
Hills of South Dakota.
Oh, Black Hills. Okay. See, my memory's getting really bad, but it never was that great to begin with when it comes to stuff like that.
His memory sucks, folks. Don't expect anything normal out of him.
I have a mind like a steel colander.
Oh, geez.
Okay, Shiny.
John Federer.
Oh. Anyhow.
Good for him.
So, let's see, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of action going on. And it's kind of nice to have several things in the pot at once, because waiting for assays gets really annoying. You know? Excellent, Shiny. I'm glad. I hope I was helpful.
He
Okay.
spoke up.
So, that's what's going on right now. And I wish it was a little bit cooler. It's not fun working up there where it, on that ridge in the heat. I think the exception to that, switchback, I hope I'm pretty well done with the really heavy exertion stuff. Pretty sure I got a little bit, it's a little bit of a steep climb, but the bedrock is smooth enough that just a little bit of filling of the bumps and stuff. I mean, if I had a four-wheel drive quad, I could just drive up it. But I think with just a little bit of fill in the holes, smooth it all out, it'd probably work out okay.
I definitely agree with on the asteroid on this. Would anybody like a female sperm donor?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyhow, that's kind of what's going on there. I'm glad Shiny and Honey Bunny got together on stuff. That's a nice thing, having a little community here. Yeah, there's a little of that. I mean, everyone's kind of floundering around a bit right now because things are a what, Eva?
A female sperm donor. Get with the times. You see, this dude in a dress says that he and his wife is a lesbian now, and he's a transbian, being a dude in a dress, But he is staying on minimal baby blue pills, as they call them, to make sure that his strap still shoots. And he's wondering if any other lesbian couples are looking for sperm from a woman. That's what's going on Reddit today, people. Don't you just love Reddit? Well, that and fomenting insurrection. You know, the usual shit.
Oh, by the way, we have a new license plate on Bugs. It says minor one on it, but we didn't get any. We'll see about having that for our thumbnail next week. I would agree, Honey Bunny. I would agree absolutely completely on that one. And the fact that they can't see it is proof. Oh my goodness. Oh, such a weird timeline we live in. Yeah, pretty much, Jeff. Thank you, Honey Bunny. Oh, yeah, it's pretty weird out there. If it wasn't serious, it would just be so freaking hilarious. I bought an NFT to do business, non-fungible token, huh? In the metaverse.
Wow. I worry about those NFTs occasionally. Oh, but you missed the news. This is nothing. The dudes in dresses are now trying to get bunny rescue, rabbit rescues closed down in Britain because the rabbit rescues are refusing to affirm them. It's very bizarre.
They're not even trying to be involved in it at all.
Yeah, they're non-political.
That's what a lot of people have said, Honey Bunny. Yep. Uh,
Oh, the whole thing is bizarre.
well,
Well, the whole rabbit rescue thing has been absolutely ridiculous.
yeah.
Oh, and he calls it a fertile 100% organic girl day.
Okay. Uh,
It's no crazier than that British judge who said that he was on hormone replacement because he didn't want to get pregnant. Really?
I remember when I got my vasectomy, my ex-wife said I was now low calorie, guaranteed non-fattening.
Well, I just had to explain this whole situation.
Yeah. Anyhow, anybody got any questions or subjects or anything? Uh, yeah, I prefer dealing with rock. It's easier than dealing with people at times. Has anyone seen the Lemon Popsicle series of movies? No. Lemon Popsicles? Never heard of that one. Lemon Popsicle series of movies. Nope, have not. Oh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the venue we looked at today for the wedding reception was pretty cool.
It is beautiful.
It's an old house. And they got a big barn out there and stuff too, but it's a an octagonal house, pretty good size, 2 stories, wood and brick. They used brickwork, kind of like for the openings and stuff, and then between that was stone. Looks really um, really pretty there, and so we're very happy to see that set up, and it should work. Take care, Resort Dog. Uh, so that worked out well. Uh, anyhow, that's about all I can think of for right now that we can talk about on a non-political live stream. What's the price of gold and silver right now, little one? I know silver was up over 36 today, wasn't it?
Yeah. I shall get your prices for you. Move over.
Huh.
Okay. So, on the matter of gold and silver, which, of course, all of us vastly prefer gold and silver to everything else that's going on in the world right now. Gold is currently sitting at $33.13 and 26 cents, and silver is at $36 and 46 cents. Platinum's at 1210, palladium's at 1073, and rhodium is holding steady at 56.75. So that's where we are today. Oh, and the venue that we're holding for my son for his wedding thing, we're going out there to take care of that tomorrow. They take silver in payment. Isn't that wonderful? So, yeah. Gonna be using my silver in order to do that. Wait. And I'm hoping that somebody, the next time he has some cash in his pockets, will take me down to the LCS so I can buy 2 rounds or 3 rounds.
Yeah, we gotta get her.
Well, yeah, that's
Thing gets
I know that, but I'm saying, I mean, the money for the mining claims thing, I figured we were going to be getting a check from the bank buying a month for it.
$250 each, roughly.
Yeah, I know, because they're expensive.
A lot of cash.
How do you buy stocks in inflation? Well, personally, wage slave, it is the goddess's considered opinion that you are safer going to any casino at the moment, except for certain Indian casinos, than playing in the stock market. But if you really want to play in the stock market, the goddess always buys stocks the same way she always bought stocks, dollar cost averaging. Okay? As in, you buy stocks the same way you buy silver and gold. You choose your stocks based on sound fundamentals, none of that stupid bullshit. Okay? Utilities, funeral homes, medical, basically necessities.
I don't know about medical, right?
Medical, I'd stay away from right now. Let things settle out a bit. But you're looking at necessities, meaning utilities and some food companies. Sin taxes, sins are a good thing to invest in. Alcohol companies and casinos and things of that nature. Mortuaries are a good thing to invest in because everybody dies. I know, it's a little bit ridiculous. And personally, the goddess has always believed in dollar cost averaging. You cannot get safer than choosing a good index fund and sticking with it. And when it tanks, when the big corrections happen, that's when you back up the truck and double the amount you invest. So that when it comes out of that correction and starts to go up again, you have a whole lot more.
Well, how about
Personally, as the goddess said, I do not believe in the stock market at the moment because the stock market has lost contact with reality. It lost contact with reality a couple of decades ago now, and I don't approve. So I'm sticking with precious metals. Mr. Virtue, I don't invest in things that I feel are immoral. I'm not going to buy Tesla. Other people, if you're looking at it from a strictly money point of view, as long as they can keep the great green rift going, Tesla is going to be a great idea, especially if Elon and Musk reunite and they reignite their little bromance. Everybody's joking about the fact that their bromance broke up right at the beginning of Pride Month. If they reignite their bromance, of course, a lot of people are going to be wanting to buy Tesla. So we shall see what.
The whole car and big thing.
Yeah, it's my personal belief that the whole electric, as Professor Hardrock said, the whole electric car concept is going to get in trouble because it's getting harder and harder for them to hide the fact that these things have a tendency to catch on fire. And when they catch on fire, they're an environmental disaster. They're a severe and lethal hazmat. You can't put the fire out, which is a really stupid thing to have hanging around. So, plus, a lot of governments are beginning to ease back on their subsidies because, they discovered that even when you try to put lipstick on pigs or you try to polish up that shit sandwich, it's still a pig in lipstick and it's still a shit sandwich. People are beginning to realize that no, just because you got a nice big fancy subsidy on the darn thing when you bought it, doesn't mean you're actually saving money.
Oh,
and with the economy the way it is, yeah, the depreciation is now beginning. People are catching on to the fact that electric cars were scam. Now, I don't know if SpaceX has a stock that is separate from Tesla. I believe if they don't, they one. Because I think people would rather invest in Mars than invest in Tesla. And people should be investing in Mars rather than investing in electric cars.
Is SpaceX a publicly traded company?
No, I don't think they are.
Oh.
And I personally, I would not make it a publicly traded company. But if it is publicly traded as part of Tesla, I would separate it off. But I personally would not. But the thing is, stocks have completely parted company with reality, and we are about to have a massive economic adjustment going on. It's unavoidable. We don't know when it's going to hit, but it is absolutely unavoidable at this point. It is inevitable that we are going to have a massive economic correction going on. So if I were going to do anything in stocks, as I said, I'd be dollar cost averaging, spending X amount of money into an index fund every week or into a basket of actual useful stocks with good fundamentals, like mortuaries, casinos with good fundamentals. There are a few out there, liquor companies, even cigarette companies. Sin cells, death cells, and utilities, because people do like to keep the lights on. Things like that. Well, hydrogen is really not all that great.
Well,
hydrogen takes a whole lot of energy to make. It's not as easy as it looks. Not to mention it's very dangerous.
Okay. The reason that hydrogen is not in use, number one, it doesn't exist. It has to be manufactured. When you manufacture it, you take energy to put it into the hydrogen, and you're going to lose at least 40% of the energy that you already had to convert it into the chemical energy of hydrogen. And then the hydrogen itself is a bit hard to handle. It's a real small molecule. It tends to leak. It tends to ignite at a ridiculous number of ratios. I mean, like gasoline and air will only burn in like a 10%, 15%
range. A very small range. It's the same thing with propane. propane and air have to be in a relatively narrow range for you to get the foom.
But not hydrogen.
Hydrogen, you get a lot more foom in a lot wider ranges of things.
But that's why. I mean, the most efficient way of getting hydrogen is to reform natural gas, and you could have just burned the natural gas.
Muscle hydrogen is like a battery. It does produce power. It stores power. What Keith is saying. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
it does not produce power. It stores power.
Hands down, best bang for your buck right now, in terms of best bang for your buck anywhere, is going to be fossil. Whether anybody likes it or not. The best bang for your buck that is actually green is there. We need massive amounts of the new generation nuclear power plants. They are great. They are wonderful. We should have them in every state.
Okay,
What?
here's something else that a lot of people aren't paying any attention to, which could have huge ramifications. The developed world is not replacing itself in terms of people. The entire economic system that we are using is based upon growth. Now, when everybody's population is reducing instead of growing, that makes an issue.
Muscle says Die Hindenburg, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there's a couple of countries right now that are kind of leading the way. Japan.
Yeah, horse and buggies are good too.
Japan and South Korea are way below replacement rate.
They're in crash. They are going to crash next generation.
So I would look at those countries to assess what is going to benefit and what is going to collapse.
Well, it's interesting
in a
to
modern
note
economy.
that Japan is actually reaching the place. Japan is actually starting to open their immigration policy, and so is South Korea.
Yeah,
Both of them realize the writing's on the wall over there.
Well, Honey Bunny, this is what's funny is they talk about this eternal radiation thing, but it's not.
Well, the thing is, I'm not saying...
Okay, could I finish my sentence?
Okay.
Okay. High-level nuclear waste becomes less radioactive than the ore from which it was mined in less than 1,000 years.
Besides the fact the newest generations run on nuclear waste. That's why the new ones are good.
They can now actually use the nuclear waste as a fuel. Also, you can burn it up.
That's what I'm saying right now here.
Yeah. And
yeah, Diablo Canyon.
And so the hazards of...
Hi, Rock Butcher.
You take care, Rock.
Have a good night. Yeah, even radiation decays.
Exactly. And so this is why the dangers of nuclear power have been heavily overstated. The biggest danger that I see of nuclear power is the potential for nuclear proliferation.
Yeah.
You're creating things like plutonium and stuff.
Well, the biggest thing I see is the fact that a lot of people, for whatever reason, do not want to build the types of plants that will turn high-level nuclear waste into low-level shit, which it should be.
Well,
and thorium salt reactors are a good idea.
I say it's the sort of thing where you need to let the scientists, the technicians, and the economists handle it, not the politicians and the special interest group.
But regardless, the biggest bang for your buck at the moment is still going to be fossil fuel. And
near term,
as to the horse and buggy, well, my uncle's always said that you cannot park two John Deeres next to each other and have a baby lawnmower appear. You know.
Would be cool. But
I agree. Thorium salt reactors, I would absolutely love to see more of. They were talking about building an experimental one over there in North Dakota or in East Montana or somewhere.
Well, I say
they were looking at one of putting in this part of the world.
They need to spend more money on the research and development of practical nuclear. Nuclear storage, again, it's the sort of thing where, no, it's so hazardous, and it's like, yeah, compared to what? Um, they had years ago, they had a low-level nuclear waste a truck loaded with low-level nuclear waste going through like Georgia or something. The people got all upset, this, that, and the other. Now, mind you, this stuff is stored in a shipping cask that's almost impossible to damage, and it was being hauled to uh, uh, the low-level uh, long-term storage place in Carlsbad, WIP, Waste Interment Pilot Project, I think. Anyhow, where they stole it, the large salt deposit. It was the disposable clothing that nuclear workers wore at work. And that's what this low-level nuclear waste was.
Would have been better off burning that.
No, because then you got to say it's regulations.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
always
yeah.
regulations.
I say they just need to treat it with rationality, although everything
Well, the biggest thing
needs to be
the
treated with
biggest thing
rationality.
to keep in mind with economics right now is we are about to go through a massive economic adjustment.
Yeah.
This is a good time to, first of all, keep plenty of liquid reserves places so that when things adjust, you can back up the truck and score some great deals and stick with dollar cost averaging. Because the thing is, most people don't realize the highest number of millionaires we ever had made in this country in a 10-year period was during the Great Depression. And that happened because of the people that were smart enough to get out of the stock market before the crash and get liquid. And then they used that liquidity to buy real wealth, to buy the actual companies for pennies on the dollar, and to buy land and to buy houses. Because all the rich on paper people went broke. And
all
they
those
could not
assets.
keep up that lifestyle, so people picked up the hard asset. Now, there's not going to be as many hard assets laying around in this next economic adjustment. However, a lot of people also got really rich during the Great Depression buying stocks for pennies on the dollar.
Or shorting stocks.
Or shorting stock on the way down. That I would not recommend because you have to know when it's actually on the way down.
You got to be good.
You have to be good. You do not have to be good to dollar cost average, and as the market corrects downward, raise your dollar cost average temporarily. And then as the market adjusts upward, lower your dollar cost average back to where you wanted it to get. But I prefer precious metals. I prefer keeping some liquid cash around because for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, people put in an inordinate amount of faith in fiat currency. We have seen it in every collapsing economy. People will have grocery carts and wheelbarrows full of the sacred fiat, and they will be still using it as what it is, an accounting tool, but they will also still be hoarding it. The Confederates, the Southerners, did actually hoard Confederate dollars because they were convinced that someday the South would rise again and they'd be rich. There are people in Zimbabwe that are hoarding their currency right now. There are people in Brazil. There are people in Venezuela that are hoarding their currency. There were Vietnamese boat people that showed up with suitcases full of Vietnamese currency because they were so invested psychologically in the fiat. So I keep fiat around because it's great for keeping your purchase private, and it's always going to be a good accounting tool even when it's crashing because people have faith in the dollar, so to speak. And I keep constitutional coinage on hand, and I'm planning to buy more of it because people recognize the denominations. People recognize it as our money and they see it as money. So that works too. I keep sovereign bullion on hand because there are people who recognize that maple leaves are great money and they like that fourth 9 on there. They like 4 9s instead of 3 9s. They trust Perth, they trust Brits, they trust Austrian Philharmonics, they trust American Silver Eagles. So I keep that kind of thing.
Muscle up. One thing you can do to get started pretty cheaply is buy pre-1964 U.S. silver coinage. A dime will cost you what now? $12 or something? $15?
These days, last I checked, a dime would cost you about $2.
Okay.
It's $1.40 in U.S. coinage equals 1 ounce of silver.
But the thing is, you can buy them. They're small quantities, so you can buy some, and it's easily recognized. It's easily recognized. Everyone knows exactly what it is, and therefore you can trade it in a tough situation. Like, wasn't it Canada? Hey, Lars, where they had the banks go down for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
How would you get the multiplier on that, dude? $1.40 is the amount in an ounce. And $1.40 times what equals 36?
Not sure exactly how you're trying to do it. You want to know how much a dime is worth?
Yes.
Okay, well, a dime is 1/10 of an ounce at the time it was minted, right?
No. It's $1.40 face value equals 1 ounce of silver. So $1.40 face.
Which day? It doesn't change. You know, say $1.40 face equals 1 ounce of silver.
Let's do it as dimes. 36 divided by 14, please.
36 divided by 14.
Yeah.
257 sounds
okay,
reasonable.
So 25. Yeah.
I mean, there's calculators on the internet.
Muscle up. Your best thing to do is you try to buy 2 ounces or 1 ounce of silver every single paycheck. Okay. So, and if you can't even afford that, buy 2 dimes every week. A dime is probably going to cost you about $2.50 right now, or $2.40 right now.
Careful where you frolic around.
Go to your local
Lars.
coin shop, and they will tell you the multiplier.
Yes.
Yeah, honey, there is a known exact weight of silver in a dime.
And in a quarter,
and in a quarter, and in a 50-cent piece,
and in
a silver dollar.
A silver dollar, absolutely.
It comes out to $1.40 in face value of pre-1964 coinage equals 1 troy ounce. Okay, that's the math. So when your coin shops are selling it to you, they use a multiplier. Like they'll say face value times 20. So if your face value, a dime, is 10 cents, times 20, then the dime will cost you $2.
That's why it's also easy for people to figure it out.
And that's the thing. You want, even if you do nothing else, every single paycheck or every single week, or say you trade in aluminum cans every week, all your aluminum can money, consistency is what builds good stacks. Consistency is everything in stacking because, and if you run into a better deal, like the price temporarily corrects, you have a little bit of extra money you put aside somewhere that you can put in that week. So that, let's just say tomorrow we woke up and the price had corrected down to $20 again. Whether he liked it or not, I would be scrounging every single dime I could find in this freaking house, and we'd be backing up the truck. The only thing that is 40% muscle up is Kennedy half dollars from 1965 to 1969, and war nickels, as they are called, are 35% silver. Everything else, your quarters, all your pre-64 quarters, pre-64 dimes, and pre-64 silver dollars
and
are all
50-cent
90%
pieces too.
And
the
pre-64 50% piece.
Yeah, they're all the same alloy.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're all the same alloy. They're all 90% silver. The only time you run into 40% is the 65 to 69 Kennedy halves, and you bet I buy the hell out of those when I find them. Because they're so freaking unpopular, I can usually get them for melt. As in silver melt value. It is very rare that I even have to pay spot to get a 40% Kennedy. People hate them. People also hate older commemorative silver dollars, like the Ellis Island silver dollars. When my local coin shop had them, I was getting all the older commemorative silver dollars, like the Korean War and the Ellis Island Statue of Liberty things, all that thing. I was getting those for melt.
That's not pathetic, Lars. That's decent.
Pounds is okay. Are we talking Troy pounds or avoirdupois? That's a Troy pound is 12 Troy ounces. Avoirdupois would be 16 ounces.
Yeah, but is it 16 Troy ounces or 12 of what Troy ounces? Not sure. But that's the thing.
Oh yeah,
Is
Honey Bunny,
you'll have
it's
something you can
amazing.
exchange anytime.
It really totally. He can tell you. One day, a couple of years ago now, we were in Missoula, and we went into Bob's Golden Coin. Oh, Lars, that is great. Most people can't say they even have that much. We went into Bob's Golden Coin. Now, Bob's is one of my favorite stops in Missoula because, unlike my regular coin shops, they have a tendency silver will break down in a whole lot of stuff. Okay.
Hey, you can go on the internet and just Google how much silver is in 1 pound of pre-1964.
Silver, Muscle Up says silver is naturally soluble and destroyed with only one acid. Oh no, other things take silver apart.
It's not destroyed with any acid.
Silver alloys with a lot of things.
It can be dissolved.
It can be dissolved, but it's not destroyed.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we were in Bob's. We were in Bob's in Missoula. If you're ever in Missoula, Bob's Golden Coin is a great place to go because they have bulk pricing. The more you buy, the lower their premium goes until they get to only about $1.50 over spot. Well, I'm in Bob's and I'm like, do you happen to have any 40% Kennedy? Oh yeah, I got a whole. And he brings out a number 10 coffee can full of 40% Kennedys. And I'm like, what are you charging for those? And he tells me,
$8, wasn't it?
No, they
face
were
times 8.
It was face times 7. And I'm like, 7 times face? Are you serious? And he says, yeah, 7 times face. And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, we're backing up the truck, okay? Hi, Zen Pop.
Yep.
But I'm like, we're backing up the truck.
I rolled
so I got a whole pile of 40% Kennedys. And by the time we left Missoula, I had already made a profit on the darn things if I had wanted to sell them. Because at spot times, at face value times 7, they were actually below melt. And I was like, yes. Hi, Redneck.
Hi, Brian. Yeah, I laid a quad over on its side.
Yeah, he went and got idiot. That's the thing. There is, if you've fallen off the wagon, get back on the wagon. Quad. Okay? If you've fallen off the wagon, get back on the wagon. Put aside $10 and go buy some dimes. Or put aside $50 every paycheck, every time you get money, and pick up 1 ounce or 2 ounces of silver every single week. That is how you make consistent stacks. Like if I sat and did the math, the dollar cost average on the silver we are using to pay for my son's wedding venue tomorrow costs about 34, I think I did the math earlier today, 34.5% less than it's worth now. So we're getting a great deal here, you know. It's a very good thing. But anyway, I'll let him come back. And remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Get out there and back up the truck on some precious metals and start piling up the fiat too. You're going to want to start shopping in cash. It's much better. Privacy.
Anyhow, hi Redneck. Don't remember seeing you before. The situation out there is pretty unstable. So I think the basic philosophy we've had for a while: have plenty of food in the house, have plenty of medicine in the house. If you know how to use them and are competent and everything, guns and ammo. Um, I I'm not a huge fan of people who buy lots of different guns and lots of different ammo, because how many guns can you shoot at once? Not many. So anyhow, as I say, it's one of those things that um, just being good.
Never mind LA, James. We've got nationwide fun coming on the 14th.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday the 14th, nationwide. Roads I like.
Not when they're chasing you. But anyhow, for those who came in late, I laid the quad on its side last weekend, which got the little nicks and dings in the thumbnail. Aside from that, I got a fair amount of road done. The project in Central America seems to be whipping itself into shape. We had a little discussion on the various fluxes and stuff that you might use for smelting gold down into bars and buttons from a high gold concentrate. And that's most of what we talked about earlier. And we started talking about silver and that. Invest in Band-Aids. Well, we did kind of upgrade the first aid kits that we carry in our backpacks now. I've got a really nice first aid kit, but it was in the truck. And so it didn't do a whole lot of good. Of course, I really didn't need anything. The reason I was so bloody was because A, I'm on Plavix, and B, it was 45 minutes from the time I got the little dings in my skin to the time we got to the camp to get cleaned up. I just thought it looked pretty cool, so I did. Yeah, we got stitches. We have stitches in the big kit too. Absolutely. We're prepped. But it doesn't do you any good if it's not where you're at. So, as I say, that was one of those things that it was a learning experience, but luckily not a. It was annoying, but that's about it. So, we'll get some more assays this week, and that'll help us figure out what we want to focus on, and it'll go from there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, redneck. Eva doesn't like me getting hurt though. Oh, she was really stressed. She said the thing that scared her the most, because she was not on the quad, thank God. She would have got hurt. But she was walking down behind me because we knew that was kind of a sketchy spot. When she heard it, what did it sound like to you, little one?
Well, all I heard was you made this sort of
A yelp or something.
A strangled yelp. And then I yelled, "Are you okay?" And you didn't say anything, and I dropped the wheelbarrow and I ran to where I could see you, and there's a quad on its side and you're laying there.
Yeah. She said the thing that got her was she did not hear any cussing. And so she knew it must be serious or I would be cursing.
Yeah, there was no cursing.
Yeah. So anyhow.
That is not good.
Yeah. I say I didn't get really hurt. I wasn't really even stunned that much, even though a little whack right here,
Ooh.
was
I hope that's
dinged up.
Right.
So anyhow, it turned out okay. The quad still runs fine, and I'll just have to redo the grade on that. Yeah, a little quad, sit on top quad four-wheeler. Yep.
Yeah.
So Anyhow, that's how our week went. Interesting, but not terribly directly productive.
Oh, good grief.
Anyone got any questions or subjects they want to bring up? Like redneck. Any particular questions? This is a good thing. We do the Monday evening live streams, and one thing is so that people who have specific questions can ask them, and we can address them in a direct manner. But that's basically what our week was like. I say the Central America project seems to be working pretty good. Find any good ones? I don't know. If the assay lab would get me some answers back, I might be able to tell you. You got a scratch on your eye, honey bunny? How did you do that? With mine, it was a piece of
Brian,
metal
we
filing.
don't know if we found any good ore yet.
That's what I told him. I'll know when I get some assays back. Found some interesting stuff last week that we were working to get access to this week, but I didn't find anything different this week. Well, she found a couple of dog holes, little prospect holes.
Yeah, I found some stuff that we didn't even get a chance to look at because he went and decided to be a problem.
It's always a man's fault.
How to process his black Miko Golden.
4 Eco Goldex, I presume. The blacks are probably
From zinc cement.
Oh, from zinc cementation?
Yeah.
From the Eco Goldex?
Yeah, how to process them.
I would go ahead and do a hydrochloric acid digestion to get rid of the zinc and then smelt it. Yeah, what Honey Bunny said.
Yeah, and Lars wanted to know somewhere up there.
I don't know. Wanted to know what?
Not that one. Somebody had a comment. Somebody was asking if you can redissolve silver chloride to make it into
Redissolving silver chloride? Gosh. I don't know of any way.
Yeah, once it's silver chloride, I think you're stuck with
You could convert the silver chloride to metallic silver using
nitric is
ferric
what
chloride and
dissolves
iron.
it. Melt with a flux. Yeah, silver chloride can be purified with sunlight.
Yeah, that's true. You can take the silver chloride, put it out in the sun, and it turns into metallic silver again.
Yeah.
Which
is cool. If I ever make silver chloride again, that's what I'll be doing.
Or you can convert it with ferric chloride and iron, steel wool. You got a lot of it and you want to move it quick. Yep, I did a video on that a couple months ago. Smelting the zinc precipitates directly. You're going to have to get rid of a lot of zinc, so it's usually simpler to just dissolve the zinc first. I'm going to be working on some stuff. These sulfide cons from Central America run like 50 ounces to the ton. So the plan is to roast those and process the roasted materials. And I'm going to have to play some games there. And we'll see, Brian. I'm thinking a thiosulfate leach. I was reading some research paper and they got a 100% dissolution of, I think it was a high grade ore, in a thiosulfate leach in 2 hours. Just The thiourea leach only did like 40 to 45% or something. They weren't comparing it to a cyanide or anything like that I would know. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works. Plan is theoretically dissolve it in thiosulfate and then direct electrowinning. The direct electrowinning will destroy the thiosulfate, but at 40 ounces per ton or more, the reagent cost would be pretty minimal. Now let's see, what would that be? 50 ounces per ton. 50 times 31 divided by 2,000.
Huh.
That would be 3/4 of a gram per pound of concentrates. The gold line cons here, the assays on that was more like 4 grams per pound of concentrates.
Very, very.
Any questions or anything, anybody? Any subjects?
I wonder if these are
I have no idea.
bionic fake.
We need to get some combat pants, BDU type pants.
Cargo pants with pockets.
Exactly. Okay, any questions, anybody? Any subjects, anybody? Yeah, I say it's going to be a little pricier, but when you're dealing with a concentrate, your residence time and efficiency of recovery is pretty good. I mean, going from like 95% recovery to 100% recovery in a 2-hour thing, that's in a high grade concentrate, that's going to be important. I'm not familiar with the geology there in Central America at this time. If you look back a few videos, you'll see some pictures of their pit and where they got the tunnel in the side. It's clear that there's a lot of iron oxides, there's iron sulfides. It looks pretty messed up. You know, it's not real clear exactly what's going on, but I really don't know. Yeah, 4 grams per pound. Yeah, there's those gold line concentrates are pretty good. Yeah. The other thing I'm looking at is if you wind up doing it, downgrading to using the same chemistry for a higher grade ore directly, by reducing the residence time in the agitation leach from like 48 hours to like 120 minutes, the amount of tankage you need gets radically reduced, like by a factor of 24. And that has a lot of financial implications too. So these are the sort of things we're looking at to see how we can rethink small scale mining from a clean sheet and seeing if we can come up with interesting solutions. Thus the integrated small mining solutions moniker. Yeah, I'm not sure how because direct electrowinning is going to destroy the thiosulfate to some extent, according to the literature I was reading. But again, if you're dealing with stuff that, okay, I killed a couple of dollars worth of thiosulfate for a couple of ounces of gold, yeah, it's insignificant. So I'll be working on it. We'll see how it all goes. Anybody got any other subjects or questions on anything? Yeah, I came up with that name a long time ago.
Yeah, and we don't have it.
Have no idea on Muscle Up. There's supposed to be a report they were going to send me on this thing that the government did. I still haven't seen the report. Let me write it down. Report from. Thanks for reminding me. Anyhow, again, any other questions or subjects?
No, he already thought of Integrated Small Mining Solutions LLC. We don't have it.
Not to my knowledge. I don't know if anyone does or not. That's what I was thinking of coming up with. And the whole idea was using modern knowledge for small scale mining instead of just the big boys. You know, things like leaching chemistry and direct electrowinning and stuff like that. The big boys know this stuff, but the little guys don't.
Well, yeah, we
Yeah, we probably do.
worry about it some other.
Yep. Anyhow, anything else? Got a pretty busy day tomorrow. Gotta visit my daughter in Butte at roughly 7 o'clock for dinner.
Yes.
You know?
I'll be going to the chair while you're.
I don't mean just a
What time is
domain
your
name.
Cairo tomorrow?
I really don't know. I'll call them in the morning. 'Cause yeah, I forgot. It's probably 10 or 11, my guess. That's what I usually do. So we got the chiropractor, then we got rooms, got the Keffler Ranch there, and then dinner with Bonnie. Should be easy to fit it all in.
Well, my thought is, chiropractor.
Hey, Jay
then
Corby.
go out. Hi, Jay. How goes it? LA is being a little weird right now. How you doing? Yeah, honey bunny. We will get around to it.
Want to sit in that seat? Talk to Jay?
Yeah. Hi. Anyway, yeah.
How's life treating you, Jay?
Hey, how are you? LA is looking a little weird these days. Just saying. Could be better, huh? Still in school? Or working or whatever? Pass me my soda.
Yeah.
Honey bunny, we will worry about it later. I don't need another tech hassle on my hands, okay? I already have to deal with this whole live stream thing. If I had my way, we would have no internet presence in terms of a website and all that crap. But I know I'm going to end up having to do it at some point.
Is
Oh,
going
where are you
okay?
working? Where are you working now, Jay? And congrats on the graduation. Good for you. Internship, huh? That should be interesting. Yeah, congrats on having a job. In this economy, you never know anymore. No, honey bunny. Jay doesn't do mining. He is a non-mining person.
We're doing okay, Jay. We're having a good time and got lots of interesting stuff to do, so we're happy over here.
Wow. Other weirdness is happening.
Glad to hear from you again, Jay.
It's an Arizona number. It's probably a scammer.
Hello. Hello.
Just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. What's up?
No, anyway, not much going on over here at all.
You're a good sounding computer.
We are just living the good life. That's why I told you, just hang up on them and block the number. They're scammers.
I was just checking to see what it was. Once I
Yeah,
figured out
well,
what...
I still have signal on my phone. You still know our phone number, dude. I mean, really? Hello? And yeah, I have. Well,
Oh yeah,
he rolled a quad last weekend and got himself all banged up. Had a heart attack a couple of months ago, which is really ridiculous. Other than that, nothing of interest has been going on.
We're consulting on a mine down in Central
well,
America.
Ryan is probably going to end up with another promotion. He is doing really well at work. Dylan went and eloped last year, and he's having his wedding reception next month here in Helena. And I ended up in charge of it by accident. So, that's going to be going that way. I mean, other than that, not much is going on.
Central America project.
Oh, yeah, and some guys with a really, really cool mine down in Central America have him helping out on it. So we may end up going to Central America this winter. That would be kind of cool, going to Central America. If not there, we may go visit a friend in the Philippines because I want to get a hold of some pearls, They've got pearls. Big pearls.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was from his quad accident. That was one of his many bruises. He also has a black eye because he hit himself in the head. The new medication he's on. Well, he rolled a quad. He rolled a four-wheeler last weekend.
I just laid it on its side.
On a mountain. We were building a road. It's a long story. Yeah, it was neat. The building the road part is neat.
I think he was talking about Central America. I don't know.
And Central America is neat. No, he did not. I break for bedrock. He rolled a quad. You came in late in this story, didn't you? I'll put him back on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the way that went. Is he went and rolled a quad, And it happened. It happens.
Oh, I got a question for you, Adam. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what. Oh, I know what it was. Iron stone. Remember?
Oh, I think so. Hold on, Adam. He's got a question for you, dude.
Okay. The situation we have up in the Montana Bee Ridge, it appears that the potential ore grade material is almost always high ironstone. And so the question is, what kind of metal detector would be best to find hot rocks, basically? I mean, everyone's trying to ignore the hot rocks, but in this case, that might be the best thing to look for.
No, not buggy quartz in this case.
Agreed, Lars. Yeah. And so that was my question. Would basically any metal detector do a good job of picking up hot rocks? Even a cheap one? Because we're not trying to discriminate against them. We're trying to actually find them. So, as I say, I was wondering about that. Because it kind of an unusual situation. We're actually looking for the ironstone itself. Well, that's the thing, honey bunny. Typically, you're trying to ground balance them out. And we'd actually be looking for them. And so that's why I was asking. I mean, Adam's the best metal detector guy I know. Any of the VLFs. Okay. VLF detector for
Yeah, it's
Iron
them
stone.
seriously. I mean, it was running about 30% iron.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not magnetic.
Yep. At least not to any significant extent. Yeah. But yeah, they're pretty heavy iron.
Yeah, they are some seriously
Yeah. Kind of like that, Adam. You know.
yeah, but that's one of the light colored ones.
Yeah.
The other ones are freaking black. And some of them are like all kinds of rainbowy colors. Black with red streaks, yellow streaks.
Yep. So that's how I was saying. It might be a good way to be looking for outcrops. The soil on that ridge, at least near the top of the ridge, is pretty thin, and so it wouldn't have to penetrate too deep. And we'd be looking for stuff that's more than just a little teeny crack. But if it could pick up a crack that wide, that might be just the little piece that's sticking up, the tip of the iceberg. So that could be. I say, I was just wondering that what's that new? I don't think it was new Gold Bug 2. They're coming out with some pretty nice metal detectors here nowadays.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the summer I can afford a good quality beginner detector, you know, and start trying with that. Oh man, I really like your new dry washer thing, Adam. That looks really well thought out. And if anyone doesn't know, I break for Bedrock. They came up with. They live and work in Arizona, so they do a lot of dry washing, and they've come up with their own production dry washer that can really process a lot of material and get good recoveries on some reasonably fine gold. If you're interested in that specialty, so to speak, because if you got water, water's better. If you don't have water, you need a good dry washer, and they've got a good one that it'll move some material. What?
Oh, something I will tell you about later.
Yep.
Can't very well talk
I understand, but I was really impressed, Adam. It looked well thought out, and if I needed one, you're the guy I'd be going to. That's nice. I like it. So congratulations on that. I I can see, Adam. I say you've thought that one out carefully. They've got even things like a spare tire. The stuff you really should have, but
yeah, I mean it's a nice looking. That was a sweet.
if you need a high production, one you're going to feed with a little excavator. They make a dry washer for you. That was nicely done. As a matter of fact, if we get,
really,
we're working. I don't know if you know this. We're working with some guys in Central America on a mine, and we may wind up dramatically increasing our lineup of sales and consulting stuff. And I will definitely keep you in mind when it comes to a situation where water is not an option, sort of thing. That is a really nice machine, really nice indeed. So, and I spent a couple days with Adam doing a little project down there in Arizona. and he's a good guy, easy to work with and stuff. So and him and Boulder Dash they're pretty good with those metal detectors. Absolutely. So yeah, good people.
They might why
Anyhow, any other questions or subjects coming up here? Yeah, things are going good down here up here, Adam. Got all kinds of interesting things in the pot. All kinds of interesting things indeed. So life is fun. Yeah, I'm pretty much out of thoughts too, honey bunny, but then I probably got them all knocked out of my head the day before yesterday. Yeah, it was Saturday afternoon after a hard day's work. By the way, for all of you wondering about my heart's doing, I worked pretty hard Saturday. And I was holding up just fine. I mean, we're talking 7 to 8 hours in the sun.
Yeah, we are keeping busy.
Yep, we are keeping busy. We got lots of interesting projects happening. And as I say, life is fun. So that's actually pretty nice. Yep. So
You have a great night too.
thank you, Adam.
Yeah, my phone battery is getting really low too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean we're down to 8.
Yeah, go ahead and cue it up there, honey bunny. And by the way, the bunny rescues that were being harassed over there in England are making big bucks now from the anti-harassment people.
Well, good night, everybody. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.
As she said. Okay.